Joining this time. I'm Sophia Lucia Perillo with Garden State Film Festival. From March 21st through March 24th, 2024, you can check out the 22nd annual Garden State Film Festival. We've been going on for 22 years, guys, and we're bringing some great films again this year, 200 films from 14 countries, all different types of films. And one of the films you can check out is a short film called The Unquiet Dead. Here to talk with me about this film is filmmaker John Gray, who was writer, director, and producer. John, thank you for joining me and congratulations.
Hi, Sophia. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's a pleasure. I'm really excited to talk to you about this film. It is so awesome. And yeah, let's just get right into it. But can you first start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am, I guess I've been lucky enough to have been working in film and television for many years. And I now at a place where I've been making these short films in a way, sort of like going back to my beginnings, I made short films as a teenager. And now I've sort of come full circle, I guess. And I'm really enjoying making short films and being able to tell my stories. I make these films with my wife, Melissa Jo Peltier, who's a brilliant producer and writer and director herself.
Mm.
We love going to these film festivals, such as the Garden State Festival. I think we've been at Garden State now 5 or 6 times, I think, with different films. And I love meeting other filmmakers and seeing other films. And so it's been a great fun and a great way to just keep making movies and trying to stay creative.
Love it. And thanks for keep coming back to Garden State Film Festival and submitting your films because, I mean,
Absolutely.
what a treat. We have The Unquiet Dead this year. Can you tell us about your film?
Well, I guess it's kind of a psychological horror film, although it has a little bit of gore as well.
Mhm.
But basically, it deals a little bit with mental illness, and it's an area of the supernatural that I've always been really interested in, which is this notion of if you feel like you see ghosts or communicate with the dead, are you crazy?
Mm,
And do you think if you have this experience of seeing the dead or talking to the dead, do you worry that you're crazy? Do you believe you're insane?
mm,
And so this movie sort of deals with a young woman who's had a very troubled life because she has been able to see the dead, and the dead sort of harass her and want things from her, and she tries to just shut it out, and she believes that she's crazy. And so she has spent a good deal of her life in and out of the mental health system. And in the course of this film, she finds out that she's actually not crazy and can see the dead, and actually has a purpose involved with seeing the dead. So that's sort of the gist of the film.
I love it. And I'm a huge fan of like psychological thrillers, but also what you're just saying when it comes to like people, mediums and the dead. I am
Yes.
so, I eat it up. So I love this
Well,
film.
good.
And
Well, thank
what's
you.
so,
I created a show for CBS called Ghost Whisperer.
I was just about to say that. Yep.
Yeah, and that's sort of being in that world for 5 years.
Mhm.
Uh, with all the research that we did, and so it really has left me with this appetite for these kinds of stories and this kind of this sort of world.
Right. And is this something you've always been interested in? I know you said that you've made short films when you were a teen and you're coming back making short films. You've been with Garden State with other films. Do you usually gravitate towards this genre and these stories, or is this new?
Not necessarily. I have made a number of horror
Mhm.
pieces, but I also love emotional drama. We just finished a short film called The Overlook, which you guys will get next year, I hope.
Yay.
Um, and that's more of a mystery drama. I've done comedy. We've done a lot of mystery thriller kinds of things. We
Mhm.
even did a spy thriller in Paris, which played the Garden State last year, called The Third Defector.
Wow.
So I'm interested in all kinds of different stories, and it's one of the reasons why I love the short film format so much. Is
Mhm.
that you get it? You can sort of take a chance to try something different, and the stakes are not that high in terms of budget or take a chance to spend 8 months doing something that's it happens quickly, and you either succeed or you fail, and then you're on to the next one.
Right. Oh, I definitely want to get back to like how to write and direct and just make a successful short film. But first, when it comes to The Unquiet Dead, I have to talk to you about the cast and crew,
Mm.
specifically your lead, who, oh my gosh, blew me away. So
Mm.
soft yet raw and grounded.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess up her name, so I'll let you say her name and how you found this lead and the rest of your wonderful cast and crew.
Well, her name is Sabangale Malambo.
Ah,
Very musical, beautiful name. And we have a team of casting directors, Russell Boast and Debbie Manwiller, and they're based in LA. And I've worked with them both separately and together over the years. They're brilliant, and one of the first things I do, or Melissa and I do when we finish a script, is send it to them, and we start talking. We start making lists. We start talking about who's right for this, who'd be great for this. And Russell was aware of Simbangale and was a big fan of hers. And, we just hoped that she would do it. And she has that amazing vulnerability
yeah.
as well as strength. So we were just thrilled when she said yes. And I thought that, I really feel like she does a great job in the film. And
Yeah.
it's not an easy role, and it's a lot to try to get across in just, I guess it's 13 or 14 minutes.
Right.
But she's wonderful in it, I think, and also a great person, a wonderful
Yeah.
human
I
being.
mean, the way she just found that character and how she would react in these situations that really just all the movements and expressions and the feelings are
Yeah.
so amazing and believable. Have you worked with we have an amazing rest of the cast, and have you worked with this crew before? Have you worked with any of the actors that we see in The Unquiet Dead?
Well, some of the actors were friends of mine from other movies.
Mm.
The initial psychiatrist is a guy named Scott Winker, who I've worked with. He came from Washington, D.C., and I did a film in Washington back in the 90s that he was in. I used him in Ghost Whisperer.
Wow.
My very dear friend Michael Levine, who's also my composer, he plays the ghost with the pig nose in the film, who sings with the banjo. And so I have a few people in here. Marsha Moran plays the disembodied head on the bookshelf. And Marsha was in one of the horror shorts called The Desecrated, which played Garden State as well.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I was able to cull a lot of old friends of mine who just, hey, do me a favor. Can you come in for an hour and a half and just do this piece for me or do this for me? And luckily, they said yes. And we had a nice little ensemble cast.
Yeah.
And Stephanie Erb plays the other main therapist, also just a brilliant actress. And, we really needed somebody who had the gravitas and also ultimately the emotional vulnerability to pull off that role, which she did brilliantly as well.
So, John, as I mentioned earlier, I really want to ask you like how to successfully make a short, because you only have so much time to pull us in, and every single minute kind of has to count. And with your film, especially with The Unquiet Dead, like I was so surprised, and you did so well at tricking us, like just all these wonderful moments in this film. What was really important when not only writing this, but when directing The Unquiet Dead?
Well, thank you, first of all, for the kind words. I appreciate that. I guess a lot of it is trying to be sure that you're not going to tip any of the twists and turns, which there are several in the film. So you want to be careful directorially, not to show your hand. And I think it's also a matter of trying to build. In this film, we tried to build a certain level of dread, and that was important in the score. Again, with Michael Levine's great work. And my editor, Scott Boyd, who's a genius, and he's done all of my short films at this point.
Wow.
And he's also really good at just that subtle sort of building of tension and dread. And it's you have to constantly keep in mind as you're directing, what's come before, what's going to come after, and what are we giving to the audience? What are we withholding from the audience? Because in horror, I think so much is about what you withhold from the audience, as well as what you reveal.
Mm.
The question really of trying to keep all that in mind while you're, while the bullets are flying, you're
Right. No big deal.
and all the usual madness that goes on.
Wow. Yeah, did it so well. And you mentioned one of the ghosts with a pig nose. You mentioned the head we see, without giving anything away. There's some really cool twists and turns, some really cool unquiet dead people we see in this film. Talk to me about the special effects. Was this done all practical or after? Like how do we achieve this?
Well, we did both. We had a brilliant practical special effects, artist there working with us. Um, her name is Samantha Mayhem.
Oh, what a name.
Yes, I think it's actually Samantha Melly. But she's very young and quite brilliant. And it's like, for example, we did a mixture of practical and VFX. And a perfect example of that, we have a ghost who slits his throat.
Mhm.
So Samantha created an amazing appliance that went on the guy's, you would look at it and you'd be very certain this guy had just opened up his throat.
Mhm.
And so what we then had that appliance on, and then we had the ghost take his knife and draw it across his throat and across that appliance. And
Mm.
then with visual effects, they covered the appliance up and then revealed the appliance as he cut his throat, and of course
Ah,
added blood and things like that. So it's a good example of both arts
yeah.
helping each other out there. And so we did a number of things like that were practical, and then also by visual. There's a scene where a hand comes out of a plant in the office, and Samantha did this amazing work where she sort of did these vines that were all around the forearm, and so you see for such a quick blast that you don't really appreciate the work on that. And I have a visual effects supervisor named Armin Kevorkian, who's a dear friend of mine. We did Ghost Whisperer together. And Armin does all of our visual effects for the short films. And there are a lot of visual effects in this film. And he
Mhm.
just does a brilliant job with it. And I'm very grateful.
How long was the process? How long was filming and post production? How long did it take?
It's usually pretty quick. We had 3 days of shooting. We did about 2 weeks of prep on location. We shot this in Los Angeles.
Mm.
Even though I live in New York, it just made more sense because some of the crew I use are in LA, and I really wanted that location. It was a really important location for me, and I knew that was available to me in LA, so we did it in LA. So um, I guess I spent a couple of months writing the script and then doing some soft prep, casting and just trying to line up an interesting crew and getting the location. And then we did 2 weeks of more intensive prep on location, then 3 days of shooting,
Mm.
and then probably I guess 2 months of post production,
Mm.
editing and final mix and color correcting and that kind of thing, and of course the visual effects, which
Right.
you sort of have to wait for sometimes.
Mm.
Um,
Not too long. Not it's pretty fast,
I like
right?
it to be fast. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
the
and
idea.
we get to
I
see it
love the
sooner.
idea of getting an idea for a movie, and then 4 or 5 months later, it's done, and you're
Yeah.
watching with an audience. It's
Yeah.
one thing I love about short films.
Ah, amazing. So, only a couple more questions. We're running out of time, but I really want to ask you, as we mentioned before, you created Ghost Whisperer. You've worked on award-winning movies and TV shows. You're a big fan of film, very successful in this industry. What's something you've learned throughout your career that other filmmakers or just anyone in the industry can kind of take advice from?
Well, I guess it's two things. One is, I think it's important to never lose your sense of gratitude and wonder.
Mm.
I mean, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's a bigger project or it's one of these short films, I get to the set and I'm so excited and grateful that I get to do it. you know, I still can't quite believe it. You know, I mean, I'm just a schmuck from Brooklyn who had no, you know, reasonable expectation of being able to have a successful Hollywood career, and I did, and I'm constantly aware of that, and you know, really grateful for it. And I think it's important to never take anything for granted, no matter how successful you become, or you know, you have to always remember that it could be taken away in a second, and so really relish it while you have it. And then on a more practical level, I think the other thing that I've learned over the years that I would advise any filmmaker is, you know, about preparation, how important preparation is in shooting and anything you're doing, you know, the post-production phase, to really think through what it is, what your vision is, and what you want to say and do in your film, and then how to execute that. And you know, I used to be very fearful when I first got started because I would feel overwhelmed and how am I going to tell the story? What am I going to do? And I just realized the way to conquer that fear is just to plan it, just to prep it. And you know, oftentimes you get on the set and a better idea comes along and you throw away your plan because hey, this is great. But for me, the best thing is to go to the set with a rock solid plan that you can just follow, you know, A through Z, and know what you're doing. And then as you get more experience and you go on for more years, you start to get a little more confident, and you don't need quite as locked in a plan because you know you can be open for the happy accident, you know, on set.
Right.
I'm a big believer in prep.
Love that. Words of wisdom over here. And John, as you mentioned, this is not your first rodeo with Garden State Film Festival.
Yes.
Why do you keep coming back? Why submit to this festival?
It's a wonderful festival. It's really well curated. The variety of films and the quality of the films is enormous. And you know, we just love, Melissa and I love going there and just watch. And it's fun being in Asbury Park, of course, fun being on the boardwalk.
Yep.
But we just love, you know, seeing these films and taking part in the Q&As and listening to other filmmakers and meeting other filmmakers. It's just a blast. And the audiences are so enthusiastic and passionate about film. And, you know, I was there right after the pandemic when there were like 6 people in the audience, you know, and we just did it anyway, and it was great. And now, of course, it's back, and you know, shows are selling out. And as a filmmaker, that's the great thing, to sit there and, you know, not just go on about this, but as someone who's worked in television for, you know, 30 some odd years, I really appreciate the chance as a short filmmaker to sit in an audience in a big theater and watch my work on a big screen and share with the audience, because that's something I don't get to do in television. You know, I'm in a vacuum in TV. You know, I know there might be 10 million people watching, but we're not all in the same room. So I really love that about a festival. You can sit there and learn from your film and other films how, what works, what doesn't work. It's pretty great. And the audiences at Garden State are always awesome.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much. It really has been such a pleasure talking to you today. I can't wait for our audiences at the 22nd Annual Garden State Film Festival to watch The Unquiet Dead. Definitely want to check it out, guys. Get your tickets at gsff.org/tickets. Come see it Saturday, March 23rd. The film block is 9 to 10:45 p.m. at Berkeley Hotel, Saturday night. Come check it out. Come meet this amazing man, John Gray, and hopefully see you at the festival, John. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. See you guys at the festival. Bye.